Hi, this is voice of the St. Joseph Sports Network, Matt Martucci, and you're listening to Sports and Rants on Radio 1851.
And we are back on live with former San Francisco Giant, 1997 All-Star, and Giants Wall of Famer Shawn Estes. Shawn, how you doing today?
Pretty good, guys. How's it going?
It's going great. How's the weather out there?
Well, it's right now it's pretty nice. San Francisco, so you never know. It can change in a hurry. You get the early morning fog, and then it clears off, and it's pretty nice. Could be a little windy. They're expecting some rain tonight, maybe tomorrow morning. But I like it. I live in Arizona, so it's a nice change of pace from the heat down there.
Oh yeah, I bet. So the baseball season's in full throttle now. What are your thoughts so far?
Well, it's with the Giants or with just baseball in general?
The Giants and baseball in general.
Well, the Giants were looking pretty dismal there for a while. They lost 9 out of 10 games, and a bunch of injuries, and pitching wasn't doing that well, and hitting wasn't doing that well. They weren't playing great defense, and everybody felt that this could be that the odd year Giant thing could be for real. And but then the Dodgers came into town on a 7-game winning streak, and the Giants just swept them. So go figure. So everybody's happy again here in the Bay Area with Giant baseball. They did everything really well this weekend. Pitched well, played good defense, had some timely hitting, had 2 walk-off hits, and there's something about that Dodger-Giant rivalry, and it doesn't matter how poorly each team's playing at the time or how great each team's playing at the time. They seem to bring out the best in each other, and it was a great series. So things are back on track with the Giants. Now they're traveling to Colorado and play the Rockies in Colorado for 3 games. So we'll see how that goes. There's going to be some fireworks there, sure, offensively. So that's what's going on with the Giants. And then, baseball in general, it's interesting because some of the teams that you didn't expect to be, at the top of their divisions are, and some of the teams that you expected to be there aren't. So, to me, it's a long baseball season. I still feel that the best teams will end up being at the top of their divisions. The Nationals being one of those teams. I believe the Pirates are going to be better than they've been playing. The Seattle, I think, is going to be better than they've been playing. But the teams that are surprising me right now are, teams like the Mets. How well they're playing. 10 in a row, I believe it is now, maybe 11. I can't remember, but. They're doing some things that I think nobody thought that they would do. But you got a couple pitchers at the top of that rotation in Harvey and DeGrom. You got a nice little 1-2 punch, and you get Wheeler back at some point, and you got Dylan Gee. So they have some pitching, starting pitching. So they could be around for a while. But other than that, the Red Sox are supposed to win. They're doing that. And the Tigers are supposed to win. They're doing that. And the A's are still going to be competitive, as they always are, even though everybody rolls them out every year. Never gives them a shot to win. So, and then the Cardinals are playing good baseball in the NL Central. And then in the East, like I said, the Mets have been surprising teams so far. And then the Dodgers are leading the NL West. So, So right now, I just believe baseball there's a lot of parity in baseball right now. I think that, you look at the big market teams, the small market teams are all pretty competitive. Even the Astros are making some noise this year, which nobody expected. And even the Cubs, they're playing well. So, you have these markets that, in baseball you'd think that because the one team's spending $300 million on their players, the other team's spending $90, that there should be a huge disparity. On paper there is, and talent-wise, numbers-wise, credentials or resumes. They are, but you have to go play the game on the field, and I think that the small market teams have organizations that put competitive teams on the field every year. So I like the state of the game right now. I think that I like a lot of parity. I like the double wild card. It keeps everybody involved up until the end. So and I think it's been an enjoyable start of the season.
Now, one thing, going off what you said about the Mets, it seems to be their pitching staff is carrying them. You, as a former pitcher, what are your thoughts on that? And do you feel the pressure during the season if it's the whole pitching staff carrying a team rather than the offense?
No, I mean, I think that's what you strive to do. I mean, as a pitcher, you know that I believe that good teams, it starts with their starting pitching, and as I was just mentioning with the Giants and what they've done, what they just did in the series against the Dodgers, and all their starting pitchers went at least 6 innings and gave up 2 runs or less, and you allow your team to stay in the game, especially if you're an offense that doesn't score a lot of runs, then it gives your team a chance. It's those crooked numbers that you give up early in games that I think puts the teams on the team, puts a team that isn't able to score offensively on their heels a little bit, and it's a bigger hole to climb out of. But if you can put some early zeros up with your pitching staff, you give your offense a chance to scratch out some runs. So, I felt as a pitcher that it was our responsibility, to carry the team. Now there's going to be times where the starting rotation goes into slumps. I believe pitching is contagious, and when you're going bad, sometimes the whole team, the whole rotation goes bad for a start or two, and that's where the offense needs to come in. But ultimately, to get to the end and have success, be a playoff contender, you have to have solid starting pitching. So, and I know that Matt Harvey and Jacob deGrom and those two guys, deGrom coming off a phenomenal year and Harvey coming off of an injury, they're definitely they're going to be motivated to do that. They know that they're the future of this Mets organization. So yeah, it's exciting. I always like to see good pitching. So it's exciting to watch those guys, have some success right now, and because of their success, or pitching is the reason for their success right now.
All right, so this is Sports and Rants with Brennan Pants. We're on live with Shawn Estes. Shawn, now going a little deeper into it, you're on the West Coast. The NL West is very competitive this year with a lot of teams stacked, especially the surprising Padres. What are your thoughts on the chances of the Giants this season?
Well, before this past weekend, and I know it's still early in the season, it's easy to get caught up in the day-to-day stuff that goes on. But I would have said that the top 2 teams right now are the Dodgers and the Padres. Obviously, the Rockies making some noise with that offense. I still think they're a little short pitching wise to be a contender. Offensively, I think if they can keep their horses on the field, as in like Tulowitzki and Gonzalez, I think they got a chance. Because they can outslug some teams. But as always, someone gets hurt on that team, and it's kind of a domino effect, and they end up falling out of it. So if history repeats itself, I'd say that the Rockies will probably fall off at some point. So, and I don't think the Diamondbacks are there yet. So I think it's a 3-team race in the NL West, and I think that the Giants right now are the 3rd best team. So with that being said, that would mean that the Giants wouldn't make the playoffs. But a lot can happen. I think that the reason why I'm a little bit more pessimistic this year on the Giants is because the Padres got so much better. And before, last year, even though the Giants didn't have the best season, I mean, they crawled into that playoffs wild card game against the Pirates, and then had obviously Madison Bumgarner on the hill, which helped. But they, all season long, they didn't have the best team. And the reason why that they got in is because the other 4 teams the other 3 teams in their division were not very good. The Rockies, the Padres, and the Diamondbacks. So they were able to beat up on their division a little bit, and that helped them. Now this year you got some pretty competitive teams in the NL West, and the Padres, and obviously the team that really made the biggest improvement. So they're going to, I think, be there for the rest of the season. Their pitching is just too good. So that would be my pessimism, is that the Padres are a lot better this year. Obviously, the Dodgers are going to be, who the Dodgers are. They're going to. I feel they'll still win the division. It's tough not to believe in them, even as bad as they didn't play terrible this past weekend against the Giants, but you can tell that their lineup's stacked. They got depth. They got guys on the bench that are good. They got a great starting rotation. They got the 1-2 punch of Kershaw and Greinke. It's as good as anybody, if not better than anybody. Their bullpen's pitching a lot better. They're going to get Kenley Jansen back at some point, so you have to like them. So I don't know. I wouldn't count the Giants out. I really wouldn't. When you build a winner like they have, and you've won as much as they have in the last 5 years, you get 3 World Series. You find a way to win. regardless of circumstances, injuries or whatnot. So we'll have to see. It'll be interesting. It'll be a lot harder this year for them to get in than it was last year.
Now, one thing I notice, especially with the Giants, is that their team is normally built around a core of guys that they brought up, and then they fill in those key missing pieces. Where we've seen with the Dodgers and the Padres, them basically bringing a whole new team into play. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, there's a lot to be said about that, and now the Dodgers have had, they brought in Rollins and Hendricks up the middle, but for the most part, it's the same team as we saw last year, with the addition of Jock Peterson, a rookie, in center field, which I think is a nice add for them. I do like the fact that you keep your core together and guys that have won. I mean, I think there's 8 guys on the Giants team right now, or 7 guys that have the 3 rings, and so when you can keep that nucleus together and add the pieces that necessary to win or to build chemistry or to add to that chemistry, I think that you can overcome talent. And I think if you can get into the playoffs, regardless of how you do it, and you've had experience in the playoffs because it's a different animal altogether, then you have a very legitimate shot to do it, to win it all. Obviously, a lot of things have to go your way, and you have to catch a lot of breaks along the way, but I also think you kind of create your own luck, so to speak, and I think it's the way the guys handle themselves in those pressure situations, the guys that have been through it and have the experience and the confidence that they have and the calm that they have when, when the pressure starts to rise. These Giants, players, they have, they've shown that they can produce under pressure, and I think it's because they believe in each other. They believe that they don't get it done, the next guy will, and there's a lot to be said about that. Now, there's no one that's selfish on the team that believes that, that they're any better than anybody else. And the best players on their team are the most unselfish. Buster Posey and Hunter Pence. And then obviously their rotation, guys that have been there with Lincecum and Kane, Madison Bumgarner, those 3 guys that have been around since 2010. They know how to pitch in big games. So that goes a long way. Now, talent-wise, the Dodgers have the most talent, and Padres probably have the second most talent in NL West this year. But I never rule the Giants out just based on what you said, and that's the nucleus, the chemistry, and the confidence that they have that they can win regardless.
Okay, Shawn, now we want to get a little bit into your playing career and how you got into baseball. You grew up on the West Coast. Was baseball just part of the ritual out there, something that you did growing up?
Not really. I grew up in northern Nevada, so it was seasons out there. We had snow in the winter, and sometimes in the spring it would snow during baseball season. So, I played basketball and I played baseball, but there wasn't a lot of major league talent that came out of northern Nevada. I can name maybe 5 guys that anybody's heard of. Matt Williams came out of northern Nevada at Carson High School, and Charlie Kerfeld back in the day, Donovan Osborne, and then myself from Douglas High School. So it wasn't a hotbed for baseball, that's for sure. So I was a seasonal sport guy and ended up starting to play baseball. Started playing baseball when I was 8, obviously like a lot of kids do, and then had the dream of playing in the major leagues by the time I was 11, 12 years old. I mean, that was when I realized that baseball was what I wanted to do in the future, and I ended up being good enough to get drafted and live my dream. So that was it was pretty cool, from a small town like that to be able to get noticed first and foremost, and then be able to make the most of it.
Now, the baseball draft isn't something that gets a lot of coverage. You were a first-round pick. What was that like, and what was the whole process like for you?
Pretty stressful, to be honest with you, at 18 years old, having to make that decision of going to college or signing professionally and going out on my own and living on my own for the first time in my life, and then having to go and be amongst the best. So that was it was a very stressful time, in my life, very exciting time for sure. But my junior year of high school, and between my junior and senior year, I went to some summer camps, and I went to the area code games, and that's where all the scouts are and the college recruiters are. So I was noticed at the area code games, and then things kind of took off to another level my senior year. You know, I'd signed a letter of intent early in my senior year before baseball season with Stanford to go play there. Ended up playing my senior year and improved my stock quite a bit in the draft by the fact that I gained about 6 miles an hour on my fastball, put on about 10 pounds, and then elevated myself into the first round, you know, with a 92-mile-an-hour fastball and a good curveball. So, and being left-handed, that helped. So then, you know, I got drafted by Seattle Mariners, the 11th pick overall in the country that year, and thought I was going to the Cubs, actually, and that was the 12th pick because my head baseball coach in high school was a, you know, part-time scout for the Cubs, so he brought in their national cross-checker to watch me pitch, and they said they were going to take me in the first round, but I didn't get there. I went the 11th pick to Seattle Mariners, and then it was the process of, you know, do I sign professionally or do I go to college? And at the end of the day, it made more sense to start my professional career out of high school than it did go to college, for the fact that, you know, you risk injury when you go to college, and that they care more about winning than they do about you. And, you know, in the minor leagues, they're all about your health and getting you to the major leagues. So at the end of the day, it was an easy decision to sign. And at the time, the money was good enough, and they put aside a college scholarship plan or program. They had a college scholarship program for kids out of high school that they'd put aside the money into a bank that you would for 4 years, the college that you were going to go to, and you could use it to go to college if the baseball didn't work out. There were certain stipulations, you know, I couldn't wait till I was 50, you know, to use it, but I have that, you know, little security blanket there to if it didn't go out, if I got hurt in the minor leagues early in my career, I could go back to college. So easy decision at that point, but then, you know, and then it was difficult, you know, from there on out to go out and actually to get to the major leagues.
That's something interesting that we don't really hear about too often, is that the scholarship program, or the program where they set money aside for you. Did you notice a lot of athletes, a lot of pitchers or hitters, after a couple of years went to college rather than playing in the minors anymore?
No, and I think that's probably why they did it, because not many kids used it or could use it. Like I said, there were certain. I don't think you could wait 3 years. I think the deal was that you had to wait. If you waited more than 3 years to start using it, then it was gone. If you used it 1 year and then didn't use it for a couple years, it was gone. So what it did is it protected the kid that signed professionally, blew out his arm first 2 or 3 years of his minor league career, and couldn't come back to playing baseball. So I guess a major injury type of thing, because I don't know any 18, 19-year-old that's going to, you know, blow out his arm and then not try to get surgery and come back at that age. And so they knew that, you know, a lot of the money wasn't going to be used. I actually used it for 1 year. I came back after my third minor league season. I came back in the winter and went to a semester at Arizona State, because I was living down in Arizona at the time. Because, you know, the minor league season ends end of September or end of August. So I was able to go and get a semester in at Arizona State. So I did use it 1 year. You know what it did for me, though? It made me realize that I need to get to the big leagues, because I did not go to school. And I think probably my mentality was more, you know, obviously focused on getting to the major leagues than it was to getting a job and getting a degree. So maybe that had something to do with it. But I was like, it was more motivation for me to work hard, both physically and mentally, so I didn't have to go back to school and get a job.
So after a few years in the minors, you would be traded to the Giants, and then that's where you would finally get your chance to make it to the big leagues. What was the difference between the Giants system and the Mariners system, and how was that rise to the majors?
Well, you know, there wasn't really a difference in the organizations, and in my opinion at the time, just because obviously the Giants are a much storied franchise and been around for a lot longer, and I grew up a Giant fan, so that was I was ecstatic that I got traded to the Giants, because I was kind of spinning my wheels in the Mariners organization, hadn't got out of A-ball in 3 years, low A-ball at that. Well, at the same point, the Mariners, drafted me, invested money in me, so I knew I had that security there. But then when I got traded, I felt like that rug was kind of ripped out from underneath me. I didn't have that security blanket anymore of being a first-round pick and being able to and being allowed to struggle. And fortunately for me at that time is that I had kind of flipped a switch in the winter of '94 before I got traded to the Giants, and I felt like that I was headed in the right path. As far as like mechanics go, as my pitching mechanics, I was finally able to repeat my delivery. I was throwing strikes, and mentally I had worked with somebody with the Mariners organization to think the right way, to focus on the things that I could control. And I wasn't able to do that up until that point. But then, in Instruction League in '94, I turned the corner, and then that was the strike deal, if you remember. So I was put on the 40-man roster for the Seattle Mariners. So I was caught up in that whole strike business where I couldn't go to spring training until they signed the new deal, where I hadn't even played above A-ball yet. So I'm sitting there at home, still working out, get strong, and then finally they figure it out. I go to spring training for about 2 weeks in big league camp and get sent out, and then go play in the minor leagues in low A ball in Appleton, Wisconsin. Made 2 starts there, and then got traded to the Giants. And was a little bit shocked at the time that I got traded, because I don't think you never really prepared for that. But it was a blessing in disguise for me, because it was an opportunity to pitch in the National League for the team that I grew up rooting for, a team that my whole hometown is, they're Giant fans in Northern Nevada. And so I looked at it as a great opportunity, for me. And also, like I said, I felt like I had turned the corner the previous winter. And I was able to get to the major leagues the year I got traded, which was crazy. I went from low A ball in Appleton, Wisconsin with the Mariners to low A ball with the Giants organization, affiliate Burlington, and then I got moved up to San Jose to high A ball in the Cal League, and then the same year got moved up to Shreveport in Double A and Texas League, and we ended up winning the Texas League championship there. So played all the way till the middle of September, and I'm ready to go home. I'm thinking that's a pretty good year. I went from low A ball to Double A. I'm in the Giants organization. Let's go home, work hard, and then next year come back and try to make the big league club. Well, they ended up calling me up the day after we won the Texas League championship, and I got to make 3 starts in the major leagues in 1995. So what a whirlwind year that was.
So there's no doubt, and after a few years you finally got it, and in '97 you were an all-star going 19-5. What clicked that season? What made you so great?
I think it was just the fact that I had a ton of confidence. Like I said, I got 3 starts in '95. Wasn't quite ready to pitch the major league level. So in '96, I didn't make the team out of spring training. Went to AAA for 3 months and really started to gain a lot of confidence in what I could do, and then realized that I was ready to pitch in the big leagues, and I knew that I could I knew I could be, successful at the big league level. And then when I got called up to the All-Star break in 1996, my first game was against the Dodgers, and still one of my most memorable games. And I pitched against Hideo Nomo, who at the time was one of the better pitchers in the major leagues. And I ended up beating him and beat the Dodgers. Went 7 innings, didn't give up any runs, struck out 11 guys, got my first hit, and that's when I knew I belonged in the major leagues. And '96 was a disappointing season team-wise. Almost lost 100 games as a team, so it was very difficult to go out there and win. But then coming into the '97 season with a revamped team, Sabian made some major trades that winter. We had, Jeff Kent came in, and JT Snow came in, Darryl Hamilton, and Jose Vizcaíno, and we had a whole new team. And so I think that there was a little bit that different energy in spring training in 1997. No one picked us to win. As a matter of fact, a lot of teams picked us to finish last in the NL West that year, and lo and behold, we ended up winning the division with one of the better records in baseball. But that season in general I benefited from being on a much better team than I was on in '96, and then I gained a lot of momentum early in the season. I won some games I probably shouldn't have. Didn't pitch as well as I could have, and we ended up winning those games by the fact that our offense carried us. But then as I started winning more games, I started getting more confidence, and then I started to really believe that, this could be a special season. And ended up having a really good first half. I think I went 12-2 with a 2-something in the first half and made the All-Star team. And then, and then ended up finishing 19-5 with a couple chances to win 20 that year. So, what clicked? I don't know. Just the fact that I started to really believe that I was good, and started to believe that I could be, an ace of a staff, and that I could go out and be the guy that could go out and stop losing streaks. And I don't think you just get that confidence right when you get to the major league. I think you have to develop that in that 97 season. It definitely developed from early in the season, and it kind of snowballed from there, which is a good feeling to have.
Well, Shawn, we know you have to go soon, but before we let you go, could you just describe to our listeners what it feels like to be a member of the Giants Wall of Fame and being up there with some of the greats of all time?
Well, it's humbling because, you look at the guys that I'm surrounded by on that wall, and it's pretty unbelievable. I didn't have half the careers that a lot of them or most of them did. I squeaked in, on the criteria. Yeah, that Peter McGowan set forth on the Wall of Fame. His criteria was you had to play 5 years with the club and make an All-Star team, or you had to play 10 years with not an All-Star team, or you could play all 10 years. You could have been an All-Star, but the criteria was 5 years, so you had to be an All-Star, and then or 10 years with the Giants. So I got in because I played 6 years and I was an All-Star, but nonetheless, I got on the wall, and it's pretty cool because, I still have people, friends and family that will go to games, and they'll stop by the wall and the plaque, and they'll take a picture with it and send it to me. And it's going to be there forever. I mean, it's the ballpark that's going to be around as long as I believe, like a Wrigley Field or a Fenway. It's that nice of a ballpark. It's got a lot of character already early. It's only 15 years old, but it's still got a ton of character, and it's got 3 World Series championships now to come out of it. So it's a ballpark that's going to be around for a long time, and so just very, very humbling, though. It was great for me to go through the ceremony of the Wall of Fame ceremony, because it gave me also closure in my career, which was something a lot of guys don't get. Well, I felt like I was able to get that.
All right, Shawn, thank you for joining us today. We very much appreciated your time. We enjoyed looking back on your career and hearing your thoughts about baseball and the Giants in general.
Yeah, my pleasure. Anytime.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
This concludes our podcast of Sports and Rants with Brent and Pan. Thank you for listening. Please follow us on Twitter at Sports and Rants. Like us on Facebook. Remember to subscribe to us on iTunes. And visit our website, www.sportsandrants.blogspot.com. It would help our rankings on iTunes if you rate and review our podcast. Thanks, and have a good day.